All right, let's go live. First time doing this shit. So I figured I'll show kind of an end-to-end process on making some lettering designs, and kind of some of the steps that go into it. So like this is where like some of the design principles and then OG kind of graffiti stuff really cross paths when you're using applications like Procreate or Adobe Fresco or some stuff like that. So I figured we'll talk about it as I go through it. First time I kind of done some stuff like this, so you get to kind of see it end to end, mistakes, and then hopefully the end result is something you rock with. So let's see what we got. I kind of already set up this background. I made this ahead of time because that takes a while to kind of set up something like this, but I wanted something super vibrant that would stand out. And then I just kind of came up with a little 3-word phrase. I'm going to put that down. It's write your name is what I'm going to write. Well, let's get into it and we'll kind of just go along the way. So I'm going to write this in I'm going to do this in 3 separate spots. So normally I would just go, write your name and put it all together like that. But in this case, I'm gonna put some work into it and make sure that the end result is something that kind of pops, is dope, free of like little mistakes and stuff like that. So sometimes you got to take time and layer these kind of things out. I know like for commission work and stuff like that, I always try to put my best foot forward and make sure that the stuff is legible. And then, like I said, free of little kind of dope, like wabi-sabi little mistakes, but I don't like that for this. So we're just going to go with it and we're going to layer it out and let's get to it. So, all right. So yeah, I'm just going to start with this one. And then normally, like I said, when I layer it out, I kind of move things around to make sure that they, they make sense and they spaced out right and stuff like that. So the first word here is write. And then, like I said, I'm going with write your name. That's not like my normal Y, but I wanted to put myself out there a little bit and, make it whatever it is, mistakes and all that shit. So if it sucks, it sucks. And you get to see it suck in real time. So I'm going to distort it a little bit, maybe size it down a little bit. And that should be all right. I don't know really how they came out, so we'll move it over a little bit. We'll go back to the first one, kind of maybe size that down. That might be what needs size down. It'll look different when we're done anyways. We're going to add a bunch of other extra stuff, shadows and whatnot and stuff with it, so that should be all right. Kind of bring this down a little bit like that. That seems to make a little bit more sense. So we're dope there. Make another layer. And then we'll go with the last part of it all. Well, maybe we need to size that down a little bit. That's a little bit big. Move that all together. And then, like I said, in graph, you have these, some people call them ornaments, some people call them decorations. It's just little extra things that you add to make something really pop. Sometimes it's, little squares, like I'll do something like this to kind of add some pop to it. Do a quick underline. Same thing here, a couple little things, squares here. It looks like kind of a quotation mark. I don't even know what we would call that kind of shit, but see, that was whack. We're gonna take that out. We don't want those together like that. So that's good. And then yeah, we'll throw one of my kind of like little signature stars right there. Then we're gonna bring all these layers together real quick. Size them down to kind of center them in the middle of the page. Like I said, I didn't put a ton into this just because we're doing this live and just trying to give everybody an idea of like how this stuff all works. Throw a little halo on the top there. That'll make it pop a little bit more. Bring those layers together. and then we'll turn this second layer underneath, we'll turn that black. Sometimes you got to bring stuff into like these little decorations that are a little bit farther off the design. You have to kind of bring those into it by separating out. And then so then I'm going to go in here to the adjustments tool. I'm going to go into the Gaussian, however the fuck it says, Gaussian blur, and I'm gonna create a little bit of a black outline. There's other ways to do it. This is just my lazy way of doing it. So you see, I think you can kind of see, like I brought that blur out a little bit in the background. You know, it's black now. So then I'm gonna go into this other tool, and I'm gonna solidify this blur effect. So it does that, and I'm cool with that. I like how that looks. You know, that's dope. And so then what I usually do on this is I double up on this. I duplicate that layer, and then I'm gonna move that a little bit to create this shadow effect. So that really makes it pop, right? Like you can see it's like got a shadow and blah, blah, blah. It looks dope. Then I bring these two together, and just kind of some regular maintenance that I'll do is I'll go into the Gaussian blur and I'll blur it again, maybe, if I pick the tool to do it. And so then I'll go back into Gaussian blur and I'll blur a little bit to kind of bring everything together. And then I'll tighten it back up. I'll solidify it again. Boom, that does that. And then now, so we've got that. And something that I typically like to do is I like to outline this with white. And so I'll bring these two layers together. So now these move together. And I guess you don't have to really bring them together to move them. I'll back out real quick and kind of show you another way to do it. If you're looking to learn this tool, maybe it's a good thing to do. So you go into here to the layers, and I just kind of highlighted that both layers. And now, as a result of them being both highlighted, but I'm not committed to them being one single layer, I can move them around because I highlighted them in this layers tool. But if I want to unhighlight them, you know, boom, I do that now. So now it's just on the top white layer. But I didn't have any reason to not put them together because this is, like I said, this is just a little live run. We're not doing anything super dope here. It's just really kind of a quick show thing. My wife piece told me she thought that there was too much going on in these videos lately. I've been doing some of the time-lapse stuff and all that stuff, just mostly just kind of save space and such, you know. But like I was like, all right, man, I'll do it. So I'm go into my brushes here real quick. I'll use this ultraline nozzle brush and just turn everything white in the background so that it's all good to go. Then I'll open this back up. I'll unlock this layer. So I've locked it with alpha lock. I'm gonna unlock it real quick. And then I'm gonna blur this one out, kind of like you saw me do with the black background, the shadow layer that I did on the second layer. So then I'm gonna blur that white out, and I'm gonna go kind of heavy with that, like just so that so when I do finally solidify it, you know, it'll do that way. And then I'll kind of go back in and just do a little cleanup work. I got all kinds of stuff I can use, but typically I use this smooth outline to kind of clean up these little holes and stuff that we end up with in here. And sometimes, you know, I'll go into that layer. I don't really like how it's like that, you know, like kind of I don't know. Words are tough right now, so it's just not smooth. So I'm gonna fix that. You know, solidify that again, back it off a little bit. It's a little bit better now. So now with the first layer that's inside the white layer, I want to do a little something extra. And so I'm going to duplicate that one. I'm going to turn it completely black. And I'll show you what I got going on next here. So I'm going to obviously fill it all in, even the little white spots that I missed. I'm going to just kind of drag and drop some colors into there. And then I'm going to back off the opacity on it. You know, 24, 25. That might be a little too dark, actually. Let's go to 20, 19. 19 it is. And then I'm going to move this to kind of give it another shadow effect inside the white outline. And, you know, I think that's dope. I think that that's like a quick way to make something happen. It's a fast way around. It's where I kind of say where like the graph skills overlap, kind of it cross with design stuff, where like I'm using tools to make effects that I would normally make with markers or paint in this application. You know, the largest part about kind of learning this design stuff and kind of go into this digital route was that I always wanted to get into print, man, clothes, stickers, prints, other stuff, you know, so I always was really stoked on kind of learning how to use this and then stuff in the Adobe Suite and stuff too, man. But yeah, no, so that was pretty quick. I thought that would happen pretty quick. The background I made, it took me a couple minutes, and I just kind of did a bunch of effects with some spray brushes that I made. I had this mushroom stuff that I thought looked kind of dope, so I did that. Dropped some splashes on there, some drips. I could probably take this out. Let me make one layer out of this, and then I'll drop this off and kind of show you how this all looks. This is kind of my thing, man. This abstract, high energy, a lot of colors and stuff like that. Man, that's really how I like to get, you know, that's how I like to get down. But yeah, man, that's, I don't know, a quick live tutorial. I guess let me know if this is something that you'd like to see more from me. I'd be more than happy to kind of make more videos like this. Like I said, shout out to the wife piece. She's the one that really let me know that she thought tutorials would go a long way. And I encourage everybody, man, to be with people that tell you the truth about what you do well and what they like to see more of and shit, man. Everybody kind of kisses everybody's ass all the time. In this case, man, I'm always stoked on having somebody that really tells me what's good, man. So appreciate you watching this, man. Thank you for peeping. I really like it. So thank you.